The U.S. Supreme Court will not hear any more challenges to 3 executions scheduled for next week at the U.S. federal prison in Terre Haute. Last fall, Adam Pinsker spoke with 2 Hoosiers who once favored the death penalty about why they oppose it.
On May 14, 1985, Bill Pelkey's grandmother was stabbed more than 30 times in her Gary home. 4 teenagers were convicted of the crime, including 15-year-old Paula Cooper, who was sentenced to death in the electric chair.
I had no problem when I was at the courtroom the day Paula Cooper was sentenced to death. I had no problem when the judge sentenced her to death.
After drawing international outrage, Cooper was taken off death row and eventually freed from prison. Pelkey says he eventually forgave Cooper and became an opponent of the death penalty.
No, there has to be consequences for what we do, but I say don't kill them. And I've come to learn that the answer is love and compassion for all humanity.
Abe Bonowitz doesn't have the personal connection to the death penalty like Pelkey, but he was once a staunch supporter of government-sanctioned executions.
I used to support the death penalty. And it was in trying to prove that it worked that I found out that everything I believed about the death penalty, the truth was the opposite.
Bonowitz heads up Death Penalty Action, a group that pushes for the abolishment of capital punishment. He says of all the death-eligible cases that make it to trial, fewer than 2% of those convicted end up being executed.
If that's what we have for victim families, and if that's what we're going to say is we have the death penalty for these most awful cases, then we have a system that is hugely disparate.
Last summer, Attorney General William Barr announced the Justice Department would resume federal executions at the U.S. Penitentiary in Terre Haute. The federal government has not conducted an execution in 17 years. Barr concluded an Obama administration review of how race factors into the application of the death penalty and issues surrounding lethal injection drugs was completed. Bonowitz remains unconvinced.
We have carved into the face of the United States Supreme Court building are the words equal justice under law. And if that's the bedrock foundation of our legal system, then the way our death penalty plays out, both at the federal level and at the state level, it doesn't match that ideal of equal justice under law.
Justices Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor noted this week that they would have blocked the executions from going forward. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Adam Pinsker.
Nuns from the Sisters of Providence at St. Mary of the Woods will gather in Terre Haute Monday afternoon before the execution of Daniel Lee. He's the first of 3 inmates scheduled to be put to death by lethal injection over a 5-day span at the federal prison there in Terre Haute.